Hey, this is Rick, and I'm back. It's been a long time, and you can find me on Twitter, now known as X, at LBRT Social Work. I'm also now on a podcast and entertainment company called Spit Take, and it's a little, you find a little more color from me there. This is more my softer, feminine side because I am pretty much talking about feelings and expressing ourselves. Today I want to talk about expressing yourselves. And what I find with a lot of people is they don't think they can express their feelings. Why can't they express their feelings? Why do they feel like they can't express their feelings? Because they feel like they will get shut down. And I think it's important that you express your feelings because you don't know what people are thinking. So I've had people feel like other people feel certain ways about them, that they're disappointed at them, that they hate them, that they are mad at them, when really that other person doesn't feel that way. So they're walking on eggshells. So they're walking around depressed, feeling like they're disappointed, feeling like they've done something wrong, when really they haven't. So they don't open up and say, hey, I feel like I've been a disappointment to you, and it's really tearing me up inside. It's made me depressed. It's made me feel like it's made me feel really low to think that I'm not good enough. And what you might find is that other person isn't thinking that way at all. And really, if you take a step back, it might be even irrational to even think that other person is thinking that way, especially if it's a loved one. So I think the other factor of this situation is us thinking that our thoughts and emotions don't matter and that we are unworthy. I think when we have been through trauma, we think that our emotions don't matter and that we are bad. It's not a conscious thing. It's just a reaction. If I've been sexually abused, especially as a child, I've been treated like absolute dirt. I've been treated like I was a thing. And children interpret things weirdly. And that's just how I'm going to interpret things. And I carry that interpretation for the rest of my life. But I think you actually probably interpret it that way as an adult as well. So I don't think it entirely just a child thing, but I think you're more vulnerable to that way of thinking as a child. And so I think it's important to take ownership in how you feel. What I often teach my patients is what's called the I feel statements, which is something that you teach mostly in couples counseling, because you can't assume what the other person is thinking. So it's important to be able to express your feelings to the other person, and it's also important for the other person to validate the other person's emotions. And I think that's why, and that's probably, I haven't been able to articulate this. That's the biggest reason why people don't express their emotions, because they don't feel like their thoughts and emotions will be validated. Because when I was a kid and I cried or I got angry, my dad said, I'll give you something to cry about. It's not that big of a deal. It's only a game. It's only, but like, to me, it was a big deal. To me, it was a big situation. And and this is a big lesson as parents, to validate our children's emotions. I think we could be a little absent-minded and not realize that we can invalidate our children's emotions, and to be mindful in that. So do our best to validate our children's emotions. But most of all, validate our own emotions. Because I think that's the big one. Is we're not validating our own emotions. We're not validating ourselves. Because if nobody else is going to validate you, you have to validate you. Because you have to matter to you. And I think that's a big deal too, because people often tell themselves they don't matter. And you have to have compassion for yourself. I think I've said it probably many times before. That kid that probably was being picked on or bullied or molested or abused needed someone like you. Because if you're seeing a kid that was going through that right now, how are you going to treat that kid? Is that kid worthy of your love? Then what makes you less worthy of that love? Of course you have regrets. Of course you do. Of course we do stupid shit. We do stupid stuff. But like, if we're not taught what to do right, if we go through traumas and grief and we don't know how to feel and validate our emotions, then we're gonna do crazy stuff. We're not gonna do rational things. It's a normal reaction to being invalidated. And so if you want to change your behavior and do things more rationally, I think one of the first steps you have to do is start validating yourself. And also not worry about whether or not your emotions are going to be validated by others. Just know that your emotions matter. But know that the people that truly care about you will validate your emotions. The people who truly care about you, whether it be at work, whether it be at home, if your wife or husband do not validate your emotions, you might not be in the best marriage. If your friends don't validate your emotions, it might not be the best friendship all the time. But it's not, but at the same time, it's like your emotions aren't going to be validated 100% of the time. And sometimes our emotions can be deceiving. Sometimes our emotions can be confusing. I, for one, get angry about stupid stuff. My emotions are deceiving. You could ask my friends, they get annoyed by me. I jump the gun on frustration. It's something I constantly work on. And if you do that, don't beat yourself up over it. It's something you're constantly working on. You're not bad because you screwed up. You're not bad. You're just a work in progress. There's no end point. We always think there's gonna be some end point to when we just got it, to when we're just good. There is no end point when you got it or when you're good. And so because we think there's an end point, we think we're just bad. So we judge ourselves in a moment because we haven't reached the end point. Stop thinking there's an end point. Just think, oh, I screwed up. I'm never going to be perfect. And that's okay. Because I'm not going to be on this earth long enough to reach perfection. I'm going to strive to be as good as I possibly can. And be as kind and smile. And be the best person I possibly can. But if I'm not that person right now, that means I'm just not there yet. I mean, I might be there at some point, but I don't see myself ever being there. Me personally, I don't see myself ever being there. It could be a possibility at some point. Now, it is possible, because look at Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers, man, he had it. Dude had it. Whatever it was, Mr. Rogers had it. Okay? He knew how to validate emotions. He knew how to make someone feel special. So, it is possible. It just takes work. But to say that you're going to give up, and that's the thing, too, to say you're going to give up because you're never going to make it there, that's the wrong answer, too. Don't say you're going to give up because you're never going to make it there. Absolutely not. Let me say, what's the meaning of life? What's the goal of life? The goal of life is the best GD person you can be. That's the goal of life. I'm way off of that person. Absolutely. And I'm halfway through life. But I'll be damned if I'm not way better than I used to be. Absolutely. May not seem like that sometimes. But I am. I can tell. You can be too. Maybe you are. But when you give up on yourself, you're not. You're just not. It takes practice. It takes work. Constant practice and work. And I think we just say, I can't handle this practice. I can't handle this work. What else are you going to do? What else you got to do? You got something better to do? Like, what better things you got to do than to work on being a better person? Because if you're not working on being a better person, you're just being a worse person. So, a better thing to do is to be a worse person? That's your alternative? Because that's essentially what you're saying. So it's either be a better person, be a worse person. You can maintain status quo for a while, but I don't think you can maintain it forever. I think eventually you're going to go up or down. And I guess I can't speak for everybody. That's wrong. And see, there we go. I can be wrong. Because not everybody has the trauma I do. Not everybody has the trauma you do. Some people grew up, good lives, not a problem. Maintain status quo. Not a problem at all. Grew up, upper middle class America. No conflicts. Am I going to say people have no conflicts? And here's the thing. I get people that say they don't have conflicts, they don't have trauma. I find it. I eventually find it. Yes, you do. I find the grief. I find the trauma. We don't want to think of ourselves of having it. I think it's important to acknowledge it. We protect ourselves from thinking we have it, though. Which makes sense. It makes sense that we do that. But I think we got to acknowledge it. And you acknowledge it when you're ready. I'm not forcing you to do it. But if you don't acknowledge it and you avoid it, then you're never going to feel any better. But I guess if you do acknowledge it and you don't want to, if you don't know what to do with it, then it's not any better. And that's when you come talk to me. Because I help you figure out what to do with it. Sorry, I had a fat cat just jump in on me. If you've ever been my patient, you might have seen the cat's tail slap me in the face. And he is here now, per usual. But we all have something, and it's not all the same. It isn't, like, not everybody's had sexual trauma or physical trauma or emotional trauma. Some of it is just grandpa and grandma died, which is probably most people have had that. But like, don't minimize that just because most people have had that, because your emotions do matter on that. Your grief does matter. Your parents getting divorced, your emotions do matter on that. I understand. You might have had good parents. They might have been good even though they got divorced, but like, you're still grieving the loss of your family. That does affect you. My girlfriend cheated on me. My boyfriend cheated on me. That's still trauma. That brings about a lack of trust in relationships. These can bring about the fear that people are going to die on me. People are going to abandon me. Loss is important. And if I avoid my emotions on that and minimize my feelings on these things, then I cover them up with anger, shutting down, freezing, fawning, isolation, alcohol, drugs, porn, shopping. I cover them up with a lot of things that aren't good for me. And I have to feel those emotions that go with it. And my grief is telling me something. Telling me important things, like I said. And it's important to figure out what those things, my grief is telling me. And if you can find a good therapist, I'm apt to be a blunt therapist. So I wouldn't find, first of all, I would be the person that's willing to be told the truth. Okay? Be willing and ready to be told the truth. Because I get patients that say they've been in and out of therapy and it goes nowhere over and over and over again. Because the therapist isn't being straightforward with them. I don't know, maybe, and I'm not downing therapists, because like, different therapists work for different people. So it is what it is. The cat's biting me. Different therapists work for different people. But for me, if like I'm trying to figure something out, I want to be told what it is. What it is that I'm missing. That's just me, okay? So I'm apt to find somebody that's going to be straight up, what is the deal? Okay, what is going on with me? What am I doing wrong? What are my flaws? What are my weaknesses? What is it that I don't want to hear but I need to hear? Because the sooner I get it, the sooner I can move on. And a lot of times it's things I need to accept, which we've talked about acceptance. If you've listened to my podcast in the past, people I need to forgive, which generally, I don't want to forgive. If I'm not forgiving, I don't want to forgive those people. But you don't forgive them for them. You forgive them for yourself. Because there's only one person suffering when you're not forgiving, and that's you. But, in my opinion, my personal opinion, you want to find someone that's going to tell you what's up. And then is going to tell you how to deal with that. What to do with that. Because knowing what's up is only half of it. Now that I know what's up, I'm just freaking suffering. And that's hard. It doesn't help just knowing. Now I need to know how to process it. And validating my emotions is only part of it too. I also need to know how to feel my emotions. What I tell my patients, big fan of journaling. I do it myself. Need to do it more. Maybe right after this, I'm going to journal my emotions about my cat biting me. Like, he's obsessed with me. He loves me. He curls up in a ball. If you go to my Instagram page, Warriors Respite, I believe, is my Instagram page. I don't know. I have not been on top of my therapy business stuff. You'll see that I think I have a picture of him sitting in my lap because he'll be here all day, back and forth, jumping in my lap. I like to tell my patients, look up feelings or emotions wheel on Google. There'll be a lot of pictures of it, and you write down what emotions you're feeling. It's not just anxious. There's different types of nervous, on edge, excited. Like, there's all different types of anxiety. There's all different types of depression. You know, write down what you're feeling, and it's never just one feeling. There's like 50 feelings. Write them all down. And then just write why you're feeling that way. Your emotions are communicating things to you. They're communicating that something is right and something is wrong. You're feeling comfortable with something and you're feeling uncomfortable with something. Something needs to stay the same and something needs to change. And you need to maintain status quo on some things. And you need to change other things. This is part of, to me, mindfulness. Because it's about being aware of how you're feeling. Your awareness of how you're feeling is important. Because you need to let your emotions process. And sometimes the emotions are so painful, your body does not want you to get under there. I'll have patients tell me, oh, I just feel numb. My body does not want me to get under there. You need to ask permission for that. Or you need to figure out what's the reason. What's the actual communication for the grief? There's something your body's telling you. There's something. It's kind of weird. Like, the answer's usually like just right there, and you can't process it. You know. But a lot of times it's, I need to communicate with somebody else my emotion, but I'm afraid I'm going to be invalidated. And that's what it is. Here's the thing. If I open up, let's say I feel like I disappoint my parents, and I don't know if I do, I just feel like that. How about we just go ask my parents? I've been feeling very depressed my whole life. That I disappoint you because of my grades. I'm feeling so depressed. I feel like I can just go to sleep and not wake up. Do I disappoint you? Let's hear their answer. If the answer is yes, they're disappointed in you, then let's figure out how to deal with their disappointment in you. Let's figure out how to accept their disappointment. And when I say this, I'm saying work closely with a therapist. I'm not saying do this cold turkey. Mind you. Do not, absolutely, do not do this without help. Do not do this without somebody supporting you. But chances are, if your parents love you, they're going to say, of course you don't disappoint me. I love you. You're my child. Now, here's the thing though. I have seen some parents that have said some nasty things about their children. And to me, they are bad parents. Because you would never say that to your child. They probably are narcissistic. And in this case, if you're dealing with narcissistic parents, let's back it up and go with what your therapist is saying. If I'm dealing with narcissistic parents, I'm probably not engaging with them at all anyways in the first place. That's a totally different animal. I'm probably not engaging in them because you're not changing narcissistic parents. There's something wrong with them, not something wrong with you. The only thing wrong with you is you need to heal. That's the only thing wrong with you. You need to learn to heal and separate yourself from them. I would personally say I would limit my engagement with them because toxicity. It's only going to hurt me. That's what I would say.
But, I mean, the bottom line is sometimes there will be people that invalidate your emotions because they have narcissistic tendencies and you need to validate your emotions. But that does not mean everybody won't validate your emotions. There will be people that validate your emotions, and those are the people you need to put yourself around. And those are the people that will love you. And I think we get into the idea that, well, I'm not good enough to be around those people. You need to have compassion for yourself. There's no evidence that you're not good enough. And just because you've done some bad things doesn't mean you are not good. Because you have to give yourself a chance to learn from your mistakes. It's okay. You're not going to be good if you don't learn to be good. Just because you've done bad doesn't mean you can't learn to be good. So learn to be good. Be better every time. Every day is a chance to be better. And just because you screw up doesn't mean you can't be better. Thanks for listening. Stay mangled and strangled in peace. Find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Warriors Respite. Peace out.